I made a film about classical music. Hi everyone, my name is Veda, also known as Saku or sakuraopal here on the internet, and welcome back to the annual episode of me explaining the behind the scenes and process of making my calarts films. During these past 3 years in animation school, I've certainly learned so much about the art of animation and filmmaking. In first year, I learned the basics and created my first ever short film. In second year, I explored themes of friendship and change, creating a film dedicated to my friends. And this year, I decided I would really step out of my comfort zone, learn new softwares, make a film that I would be really proud of. And I did just that. My third year college film, A NEIGHBOUR Duet, is now available on YouTube, so please watch it before you watch this video. It's about the struggles of being a young musician, parental expectations, and most importantly, the joy that music can bring. So just like the past 2 episodes, without further ado, let's begin and rewind to the very beginning. And this time, I mean the very, very beginning. What does music mean to you? I started learning piano at the ripe age of 4 years old. My parents put me in class and I just continued ever since. I remember there was a little booklet we had to bring and I had to jot down these hours I practiced each day to show my teacher, and from ages 4 to 10 I practiced every single day for an hour, the only exceptions being during travels. I sure wasn't your Kosei Arima level prodigy, but I would say I was quite good. I would win something in every competition, and I did ABRSM grade 8 when I was just 10 years old, which is the highest performance level there is for UK's Music Examination Board. Well, at least before you move on to the diploma stuff. Although I didn't further my piano education past that as I started to focus on my academics instead, I did continue to play piano in my free time. I would do piano arrangements of my favorite anime openings, do covers, and so much more. I don't really know how to describe it, but the feeling of playing music, especially an emotional piece, you as the performer would start to get very emotional too. The best way I guess I could describe it is to quote one of my favorite animes, Your Lie in April, which you probably watched if you like classical music. I distinctly remember when I was trying to learn the piece Mariage d'Amour. I'm trying my best French pronunciation. Anyways, which is a really famous piece you'd probably learn if you tried to pick up piano. I would close my eyes and imagine a friend or anyone there listening to me play. The feeling of performing a piece to someone, trying to tell someone a message as I press on the keyboard. I feel as though the best part about music is that you can always just feel the raw emotions and not just the song, but the performer and how they portray it as well. This is what I really truly wanted to convey through my film. Music has helped me so much through different eras of my life, all the emotions I feel while listening to my favorite songs and playing my favorite songs. I really hope that I can spread the message on how beautiful music is too. Now that I had a message I wanted to tell, let's talk about how I came up with the idea of this film. For those of you who don't know, I'm from Hong Kong, and in a place which land and space is a luxury, most of us live in super tall apartment buildings. Because of this, we often hear what our neighbors are doing. Through my open windows while doing homework throughout the years, I've listened to moms yelling at their sons, I've listened to someone blasting K-pop, specifically Taeyang's Eyes, Nose, and Lips, by the way. And I've listened to people practicing their instruments, from recorders to pianos to trombones, like everything. I remember seeing neighbors would react when I was playing the piano as well. Like, I remember the apartment closest to me would pull down their curtains every time I start practicing, or dogs would stare at me through the window while I was just trying to practice my skills. However, what I also remember is the exact moment when I came up with the idea of this film. This was the year 2022, I was 17, and it was another sleepless night. At that point, I just received my acceptance letter to CalArts, so I was thinking about all these possible things I can make a film about during my time there. that's when the two and two clicked, and I decided right then and there that I would make a film about neighbors duetting. However, I couldn't do it right away. Our school had these time requirements for every year, and I knew that this story needed time. But not only that, I needed my skills to improve in order to tell this story as well. And that leads us to where we are today. After 3 years, in the year 2025, I finally did it! And I believe that the film was beyond something I could have ever imagined when I was 17. We've come a really long way since then, haven't we? Fast forward to the year 2024, it was actually time to bring this idea to life. So I started gathering inspirations from short films to movies to TV shows to YouTube videos. But there was one inspiration for the film that I really wanted to talk to you about. Let's go back to 100 years ago. The year was 1921, when artists were still very much experimenting with the origins of animation. Back then, there were only very few notable animations, example being Phantasmagoria in 1907, Gertie the Dinosaur in 1914, and Felix the Cat in 1919, who looked very much different back then. However, in the 20s, there was also a film movement called absolute film, in which animators focus on abstract shapes to tell stories, inspired by other art movements during that period, like Dadaism, Cubism, and Expressionism. This was revolutionary at the time, approaching animation in a completely different way instead of telling character-based stories. This became the genesis of putting animation and music together. 10 years later, notable filmmakers like Len Lai and Oscar Fischinger created beautiful experimental films, visualizing music and abstract shapes. My favorites being A Color Box in 1935 and An Optical Poem in 1937. In fact, these films were what inspired the iconic Disney film Fantasia in 1940, which is probably the animation people look at when it comes to classical music. For my film, A Neighbor Duet, I wanted to pay tribute to these experimental films, the way they visualize music with just geometric shapes. Thus, even in early stages of my film, I knew that instead of Hayden falling right away into the sheet music world, that he would see abstract shapes that represented the music, just like how these classic films did. And if you want to check it out, I've linked these experimental films in the description. They really are very fascinating to watch, especially knowing all the historical context behind it now. Although I knew my story would be about two people duetting, with one being piano, I actually debated for quite a while what the second instrument would be. I ultimately chose the flute as it's an instrument that sounds light and joyful, yet beautiful and charming. Plus, I tried to play the flute one time before in high school, so at least I knew how it worked, and I thought it would be easier to animate, at least compared to animating someone playing a violin, for example. I then stumbled upon the site flutetunes.com, in which I probably looked through the entire catalog of flute and piano duets. I ultimately settled for variations for flute and piano in E major B9 by Chopin. Something about this piece just really spoke out to me, especially a piece by Chopin too, a composer known for his signature heavy and emotional pieces, to write something so youthful and light. Later on, I also found out from my friend who studies music that this was the only time that Chopin wrote a piece for the flute. Not only that, she also said, quote, "I think the most striking thing was the accounts of Chopin's childhood. Nowadays, we have an image of Chopin as this sad, introspective dude whose music defines the romantic era of piano. It's tragic, lonely, angry, yearning, lots of complex emotions. Yet, Chopin in his childhood was the total opposite. He had a loving family, supportive teachers, and plenty of friends in school. In my opinion, this piece unintentionally reflects these happy times of childhood innocence, playfulness, and having no worries about the future. The theme by Rossini he uses in this piece is from the opera La Cenerentola. I tried my best, I googled how to say it in Italian, okay. Anyways, Chopin was a big opera fan, and that means Cinderella. The opera is literally the story of Cinderella, a fairy tale, and fairy tales usually most significant to people who are still in their childhood, quote. And with Chopin's music, Hayden falls into his own fairy tale too, and meeting his own Cinderella as well. During the earliest stages of development, I also reached out to a few musicians to chat, to hear their input and stories, and hopefully with that to be able to materialize ideas and create a full story for my characters as well.
Because like the whole point of my film is like the joy of music and stuff. And I think if I get like every musician's input on what music means to them, maybe I'll have more ideas to like make it more charming to the audience. As you are a musician, I want to like know your input. What made you like love music so much?
Such a good question. I don't even know, honestly. Like, I think it's really cool that like you came up with this plot because I was like, whoa, wait, like that's basically me. I think like definitely when I was a kid, it was like not a love of music. It was like I just did whatever I was told.
Mhm.
I feel like it's partly two set and then like
No, don't talk about Tuesday. I'm so
A few moments later.
yeah.
upset. Okay. Anyways, continue with your story. We went side tangent.
Um I think like that was part of it. Like I guess realizing that there's a community, but like at that point it was still like I guess like online, like just like their fan base. Um, and then like I think going to Hangzhou, like I spent so much time in the music suite, you know. And that was the first time I started playing like with other people. Like I played like accompaniment for like violin and stuff. And then like it was really fun. Like I was like, oh, like music actually helps people like bond. So I think that's when like I started having more of like a internal passion
Mm.
for music and like really appreciating that. But then I think like it's continued to develop in different ways, like especially after coming to college and like joining an orchestra, like that also changed how I view music and like people interacting when they're playing music, like on a different scale because it's like even larger. Point when I stopped like doing music for the sake of exams, and I feel like
Hashtag AVRSM.
yeah. And I feel like it was like when you're doing it for an exam, it's like it's stressful, but then like once the exams went away, then it was like at that point music could become like an outlet.
Yeah, I don't know. I got into music, I think I would say kind of late because it was in high school when I got into music. And um at the time I was a student that focused on like overall like so okay, I wanted to do sport, academics, and music. Like that's what I thought you had to do. And so I actually chose the drums as my first instrument.
Whoa.
Joining band and stuff, I discovered the piano and I was just like something clicked. Like I got the gist of it pretty quickly, like how to coordinate my left and right hand. And so that was fun, just like kind of beginner's luck. And then I really enjoyed it and all the different, oh, another bird flew. I have just two, so
Oh, that's so
um
cute.
yeah, but just the joy of playing different pieces. I'm classically trained too, so yeah, composers like Chopin, I really liked to play. It just and then it fills the house with the nice music, even if you're just practicing. It's nice for people to listen to as well and yourself. Just discovering music, it happened on its own as well as listening to a lot of film composers because I'm a big like John Williams fan as everyone else is. Like in Disney films, Alan Menken I love. And no, don't bite the webcam.
Basically, like I just had this idea of like the sheet music world, but you know, like
Yeah.
there's so many ways to play with it, and
Hmm.
I'm like, it's like, and like, how do I really like show that they're having fun?
In the piece, like the piano part basically stays the same throughout, and it's only like the flute that has variation. And so like all of the agency is sort of like with the flute,
Mm.
which I think is interesting because the idea is that Hayden's character and like his attitude towards music changes, but like the part of his instrument doesn't change. So like
Mm.
in terms of like sheet music, like I don't know if like you're gonna keep it like stable, but I was imagining like that the flute character probably like maybe like if they're starting on like the top line, they have to like at some point like beckon to Hayden. Like she has to sort of like go down into his world and like bring him with her.
Kind of like this. And
Mm,
then I was thinking like
yeah.
um maybe like the watercolor fades in and like it turns into
Mm,
like different scenery in the background with the
yeah.
story music on top.
Hmm.
So like they don't necessarily have to be like separate like the flute is like because I feel like you
Okay.
want to see
Got
the
it.
interaction with them. I do agree like the piano stays the same. And I was thinking like in the beginning like I want to animate Hayden like walking and like so like
Mm.
walking like but the rhythm is like the piano because it's just basically like the dun dun dun
Oh,
throughout
yeah.
and then while like she's like dancing
Mm.
uh,
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, it's a really sweet piece and it's very light. So it makes me think of like someone dancing on clouds. Um, or like hopping or skipping along. Um, and feeling like loved, like a hug.
oh that sounds so
Yeah.
that's so warm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you chose a good piece. I really, really like this piece. And I think a lot of flute players like it as well. I'm sure
Mm.
every flute player has to learn it at some point during
Yeah.
their lessons. Yeah. You feel good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I felt like it was very on Chopin. Like I don't know if it's like a well-known piece for like flute people, but like it's also really catchy. So like I was like, huh, like I've never heard this before, but it also sounds like something I've heard before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And I don't want to do something like super basic like for Elise or
Yeah.
like things that people know.
Yeah.
It's just like oh again
Yeah.
like classical music is a lot more than just like I don't know
Hmm.
Beethoven Symphony number 5. Oh, I'll try and wait, especially the ending, because I think
Hmm.
basically what happens is like after Variation 2, I think the end of Variation 2, because I think like throughout the film, like Hayden's Hayden's hands are put into fists, and I kind of want that to symbolize like he's like he doesn't want to play, and then at the end, like he opens his hands, and then
Oh.
it like match cuts to like him actually playing the piano again.
Hmm.
And then like people, the audience can speculate if this whole thing was just a dream or not. I think I do that in a lot of my, and then like they actually play a duet like through like
Hmm.
the window. I
Okay.
was thinking if I should just end it like that, like because like the like the time limit is 4 minutes for my film, so I
Hmm.
can't like go too ham, and also that's
Yeah.
just too much to animate for one
Yeah.
person. So
Yeah.
yeah, but the original ending was that like he goes into the lift and then they actually see each other in person for the first time. And I that would be cute,
Mhm.
but oh, and then like he like does the egg motion and then he says like, "Mom, I want eggs for dinner." That's like the last line. And then the mom's like, "What? Okay." But I do like that, but I don't think I have like time to like add like
Mhm.
an extra like time skip scene of like this
Right.
happening.
Yeah.
So I think like after the duet e- like ended, like do you have any ideas on like
Mm.
how to like have a satisfying ending of
I guess like it would be maybe kind of cool if they start playing a duet and like I don't know, like you would have like background like city noises, but like you know like the meme when it's like the world would be so much better if all cars like honked and it was like in the right key.
oh
Like
oh so like maybe the
like
whole
the whole
world
world is in
joins
harmony.
in. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I like that. Wait, let me write that down.
Yeah, I would suggest the duet as well.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're neighbors, yeah, it could just show like one house on one side, the other house on one side, and then them in their windows, playing their respective instruments.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, pan or the wide shot out kind of thing. Um, Yeah, but the sound design, like for the world, is really cool as well. It kind of makes you think like, oh, Hayden doesn't just need to play an instrument. He can get inspiration from like other sources, like just sounds in general, which is really nice.
I don't know if you can tell, but I've been thinking about this like for like it's like constantly on my mind, like
Yeah.
and I'm constantly like emailing people like, please, I need your input. Like, this is like really I don't know if you saw my I think you did, right? My film last year. It's like very like literal. Like it happens
Yeah.
and like it's like real worldy, like the colors
Right.
and stuff. I mean, like she turns into kid, that part's not real world, but like
Mhm.
other than that, like everything is like it would happen in real life, and it's just
Yeah.
but this one is like, and like I'm also like constantly going like, how do I visualize this?
Yeah. I hope that was helpful.
No, that
I
that
don't
was
have
very
much
helpful.
idea.
Yeah, no, I really like your suggestion of the ending of the whole world chiming in for music together. Like that's just so beautiful. Like I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
So
When I close my eyes, sometimes I can imagine how the music looks in my head. I know there is also something called synesthesia when you hear music and see shapes or colors, but I guess in this case, it's slightly different. For me, I imagine different sceneries depending on the vibe of the song, and with the multiple variations of the Chopin tune, I imagine a different scenery for each one, and I wanted to play with the idea of the sceneries changing while the music changes and progresses. Another thing I knew is that I really wanted to include little music references into the film. The first one I came up with was Hayden's heartbeat with accelerando, which is the Italian term used to indicate a gradual increase in speed or tempo. I was also reminded that one time TwoSet, who if you don't know is this really funny violin duo / classical music channel, who made a song that is called Cabbage, which is based on the words you can spell out with music notes, which is the letters A all the way to G on the English alphabet. I then went through the list of words you could spell out and ultimately settled for the word egg, because that means a little bird could hatch and that can somehow move along the story. Then it was time to create the characters. Before I talk about Hayden, I wanted to talk about a Hong Kong movie I watched in recent years that still leaves a tremendous impact on me, named Time Still Turn the Pages, or Nin Siêu Yat Gay in Cantonese. In fact, I think it's probably one of my favorite Hong Kong movies that come out in recent years. It does an amazing job giving social commentary on not just Hong Kong, I believe many other Asian countries, and how children deal with tremendous pressure and expectations and the cruel reality that a lot of kids with tiger parents have to go through. Something I'm sure many of us Asians or anyone with strict parents can relate to, unfortunately. I highly recommend this movie because I bawled my eyes out during the entire runtime, and you know it's a good movie when you still think about it years later, which I certainly do. With this major inspiration, Hayden came to me pretty naturally, as I imagine him as an awkward Asian boy, shy and timid, with probably a bowl cut similar to the main character of the film. After a few iterations, I knew that I wanted his glasses to be slightly crooked and his socks to be uneven and his hair resembling a music note, showing that even a perfect cookie-cutter child has some not-so-perfect moments. On the other hand, the inspiration of Arya, the girl who plays flute that I never officially revealed the name until now, was also inspired by another movie. In my free time, I enjoy reading Japanese literature, especially wholesome stories, so my friend recommended me the book to read, Toto-chan, The Little Girl at the Window. Though I didn't have the time to read the book, I watched the movie during one of my flights from Hong Kong to America, which is still pretty great in my opinion. The story, despite setting during World War II, a very scary time period for many Japanese, I'm sure, is probably in contrast the exact opposite of the pressuring, scary tiger mom life Hayden has to go through. The vibe of this story is mostly very cheerful and sweet, as Toto-chan, a rambunctious girl who is different to most others, attends an unconventional school called Tomoe Gakuen. However, unlike the previous Hong Kong movie I talked about, the adults, especially the headmaster of the school, Mr. Kobayashi, does nothing but give support to the students, catering to each of their personalities and allowing them to thrive. The story highlights the significance of learning outside the classroom from everyday things, which I think now, nearly 80 years later, is often overlooked. The cheekiness, playfulness, yet childlike innocence of Aria was very inspired by Toto-chan. How she is just playing flute and not caring about anything else, and she's just dancing because she feels like it. We need more of that. We need to channel that into our daily lives now, like seriously. Anyways, instead of the squariness of Hayden that resembles the keys of the piano, I wanted the design of Aria to mostly consist of round shapes, showing the big contrast between the two characters' personalities. After a lot of constant thinking, showing my ideas to peers, musicians, friends, family, I finally had a complete set of storyboards, and it was time to add color into the world. You can say that my film is mainly divided into two parts, the real world and the sheet music world. As Hayden's mood changes throughout the story, I really wanted the colors of the film to reflect that. Because of this, especially the first part of my film, I wanted the colors to be almost monochromatic, a lot of blues to signify Hayden, and as Aria is introduced, the color of the film slowly gets a lot warmer with yellows. Towards the end, even though it's the same living room, the house is certainly a lot more welcoming and cozier to live compared to the beginning of the film. Pretty early on, I knew I wanted to have a watercolor, paper-like aesthetic when Hayden gets transported into the sheet music world. Last summer, I interned at a VFX studio for 2D compositing, so I basically spent my entire days working on Adobe After Effects, and I think I got quite good at using the software. So when it came to these watercolor effects for my film this year, though I did do quite a bit of testing in the beginning to get the effect the way I wanted, majority of it is just me using After Effects with the help of textures, using mask and keyframing it, just a lot of that. On the other hand, when Hayden was in the real world, I wanted everything to look grounded, similar to real life. It wasn't for my film specifically, but for my 2025 resolution, I decided I would finally hone in my 3D skills and learn Blender, a software that is beloved by many animators. So as I was trying to level up my skills, I thought to myself, why not try to model scenes for my film, especially because there's only 2 locations anyways. So unexpectedly, I ended up doing all the backgrounds for my film in the real world in Blender. Something that I've never ever done before, and something that even the Veda last year would not believe if you told her, because I always thought that 3D is just way too out of my league and I can only do the actual drawing. I can't model, but I proved myself wrong. However, to keep things consistent, I did go back into Procreate and do draw overs of all the 3D backgrounds to have that signature Saku style and have more of that sketchy feeling. Of course, there was the actual animating portion as well. I know last year I emphasized using limited animation, especially because I was given so little time and I didn't really have any other animation help. This year I kind of went crazy. I knew that there would be a lot of dancing in my film, which means fluid motion, so I really wanted that to look good. So most of my film is on 4s. For those who don't know, that means that I did 6 drawings for every second, because 6 times 4 is 24 and the film's frame rate is 24 frames per second. And a shout out to my friend who helped a lot of the animation for me. She's amazing. She helped me clean a lot of the shots, and clean up is probably the worst part of animation. No hate to all the cleanup people. Anyways, to portray Aria even more as a whimsical figure, I did reference a lot of shoujo anime as well. I also made her choreography waltz and ballet-like, yet not really at the same time, because I just wanted to show her having fun. She's not really like dancing seriously, she's just frolicking, and I just wanted to animate someone doing a grand jeté. Shout out to my traumatic ballet past where my teacher really hated me, haha. Okay. Anyways, the moral of the story is that learning new skills always feel daunting, like how I never even touched After Effects until my second year project, and how I never even touched Blender until my project this year. There's always a steep learning curve, and the light of the tunnel always seems so far away and non-existent. But if you just tell yourself, I'll take one step at a time, like how I did with Blender this time around, before you know it, you look back and you just see how much you've come, and that you're doing things that you couldn't even do just a year ago.
To a new country. But like, come on, we just graduated, so let's celebrate.
No!
小森林村与月岛央之峰会，请小心列车与月台之间的空隙。
Although music is a big part of my film, a part that is often overlooked is sound design. As I mentioned earlier, I believe you can always feel the raw emotions when a performer is playing music. So as the pianist for the film, I wanted to portray just that. In the beginning, Hayden plays Liebestraum, which means love dream in German, sort of as a reference as he quite literally has a love dream. Although this piece is originally very beautiful and emotional, I deliberately chose to play it in the most angry and mechanical way I could. I then purposely put a huge pause of silence as Hayden cries between his breakdown and hearing aria later in his room to show the huge contrast between the two ways of playing music, as Aria's flute enters in the most joyful and cheerful way possible. Shout out to my flautist Isabella, by the way, she is awesome! In the beginning stages of conceptualization, I actually wanted Hayden to talk, but I later on decided, wouldn't it be cool if he talked in piano? Then it also saves me some time from finding a voice actor, am I right? The little part I composed in the middle is Aria cheering up Hayden through flute. And my composer, Samantha, also did an amazing job making the EGG theme and the initial theme when Aria first appears. Other than that, the usual sound design is also there, like footsteps, clothes rustling, but I also added piano sound effects, especially the parts where Hayden falls, to add to the musical world and to show everything is portrayed via music. Tone-wise, I also try my best to convey Hayden's emotions through the accompaniment as he slowly gets more emotion throughout. As we approach the end of this video, there's actually something I'd like to share. Something that I didn't even tell most of my friends because I was too ashamed to admit that I felt this way. Every year in my school, there's this showcase in which faculty members picks a handful of films to screen in a beautiful theater down in Los Angeles. And for the third year in a row, my film didn't get selected. I'm not sure why, but when I didn't see my film on the list this year, I was very upset, a lot more than the previous 2 years. Although I did like my films from the last 2 years, I knew that there was space for improvement. But this year, I was really proud of A Neighbor Duet and the fact that I learned new softwares, to things that were way out of my comfort zone, and just to think I thought I brought things new to the table, yet my efforts weren't acknowledged, at least acknowledged in the way that I hoped. Life works in mysterious ways, and sometimes there just isn't a reason. There will be days you try so hard and you don't get what you want, while other times you put in less effort and things do better. I wish there was a rule for us to follow, like if hard work equated to success, or if being kind meant the universe would be kinder to you too. But this is exactly the essence of being an artist, isn't it? You can't suit everyone's cup of tea, and not everyone will like your work, and you can't predict when it will. However, that doesn't mean there aren't people out there who will like what you do, even if it's a smaller amount. And as long as you focus on those who care, that's what really matters. Though it's always nice to get validation from external sources, it's nice getting awards, it's nice getting views on your film on YouTube. As artists, the main reason why we create is for ourselves, right? Although in a year I'll be done with art school, I still think this is the beginning of a journey for me, as a filmmaker, as an animator, and as an artist. Graduation might come soon, but I'll still have a long road ahead, and I'll keep making films, telling stories I'm passionate about, even when I don't get the validation I want, or some special award or whatever, because that's what really matters. Special shout out to my friends, family, my film workshop class who supported me throughout the film. My teacher for film workshop this year actually directed a sequence in Fantasia 2000, which is so crazy to me. Like, the fact that I got him as a teacher and he supported me through this entire filmmaking journey. Oh my god, I really think it was a fate that I got him as a teacher this year. Small fangirl moment, oh my god. And with that, thank you all so much for the support on my film and sticking around to the end of this video, listening to me yap about animation, music, and most importantly, my story. I don't know why, but sometimes my process videos do better than my actual film, so make sure you actually go watch the film. I'm also planning to post weekly again during summer, so if you're interested in listening to me talk about animation, culture, anime, and many more things, please consider subscribing. And if you're interested in seeing more of my art, follow me on Instagram as well. And with that, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Stay safe. Bye bye!